Okay, moving on. As I studied this matter, I was quite amazed and disheartened by the copious amounts of faulty scholarship on this topic. There are many websites which make statements over and over again which are totally unsubstantiated by historical and archaeological facts. There is basically a general lack of accurate scholarship on Zoroastrianism. And there are way too many false statements surrounding these matters. And this is my primary reason for making this video series, to straighten out some matters that people are believing are historical fact, but really only amount to speculation. Now, there is nothing wrong with speculation, but be sure to call it speculation and not a fact. I happen to believe that Judaism influenced Zoroastrianism, but that is what I believe. I am not saying it is an historical fact, and so I will proceed to speculate why I think Judaism influenced Zoroastrianism. And I will also speculate why I think Zoroastrianism did not and could not influence Judaism, especially in regard to Messianic ideas. So, now we begin to delve into the topic. What is Zoroastrianism, and what are the fundamental tenets of Zoroastrianism? Well, it is hard to distinguish exactly what early Zoroastrianism practiced and believed. The primary reason for this is that the lack of textual evidence dated prior to the 6th century B.C.E. Now, what am I referring to as textual evidence? Well, I am referring to the sacred writings of Zoroastrianism contained in the Avesta, their holy book. I am also referring to all other ancient texts outside of the Avestan literature. So it is very important that we understand why certain Avestan texts are dated to the 6th century and later, and why others are dated to the 14th, the 13th centuries. In some cases, some scholars, very few, date the oldest texts to possibly the 17th century, which I saw in one case, which has, I think, maybe one reason for doing so, which we will cover later on. Now, it is also important that we understand how these texts are dated, because the way we understand where these Zoroastrian texts are placed in historical context has a great bearing on how we speculate which religion influenced the other. So, really, the crux of the discussion is what were the fundamental tenets of Zoroastrianism at the time in which Judaism was carried into Babylon. In other words, what did Zoroastrianism believe when Israel was taken into captivity? And afterwards, when Israel was freed from captivity, what did Zoroastrianism believe?